Hey, real estate nerds, this is Alex Yoder with Pro Tip Tuesday, my favorite day of the week. And today I'm coming at you not from my vehicle, but from my home office because my family is on quarantine. And that's just how the world is operating right now. Let's dive into today's pro tip, which is basically the top 10 things that I can think of that new landlords do wrong that ultimately hurt them. We're going to go through this as quickly as possible. I've done videos on many of these points in the past, but I'm trying to wrap this up. The top 10 things that came to mind for me that new landlords will do wrong. So number one, they will say things like, I'm not going to fix that because it's just a rental. You should never treat your rental property like just a rental. If you don't take pride in it, and if you don't position it with high standards, you're not going to attract and retain high standard, high quality tenants. So don't shoot yourself in the foot by trying to be cheap, basically. Number two, they will be dazzled by rent up front. Some tenants will come to you and say, hey, I'll do a year lease and pay 6 months in advance or a full year in advance. And you get stars in your eyes. And that's what they want. They want you to not look at their criteria because there are other major red flags that they're hoping you don't see, and they're hoping that you don't screen them. There are many other risks other than non-payment as it pertains to renting out your home to a stranger. Number four, they will agree to allow the tenant to fix stuff for a rent discount. Never, ever, ever do that. It never goes well. It won't be fixed at all. It won't be fixed well. And the list goes on, and they will expect you to give them a discount. You will expect them to return the property. Let's say you agreed to have them paint the house. I've never had a situation where they painted the house or painted it well, and you were glad, and we were glad that we did that. I'm telling you all this from experience and making all the mistakes and learning the hard way. Number five, they will charge a pet fee for emotional support animals. Don't do that. Emotional support animals we've talked about at length. Just like service animals, they're all under the assistive animal banner. And if they're bona fide, you cannot charge fees for them. Pro tip, beyond that, you should always be using petscreening.com. Not being paid to say that, but you should definitely be doing it. It's no cost to you, and it'll save you a lot of headaches. Number six, they'll treat the landlord-tenant relationship like a personal relationship instead of like a business. I could do a 30-minute video on just that one topic and the downfall or the pitfalls that come up when you try to treat the tenant like a friend. It's going to completely change the dynamic of that relationship. That kind of leads into the number 7 point, which is they will offer exceptions to the provisions outlined in their lease based on how they feel in the moment. So, I'm not going to charge you late fees because I feel bad for you. I'm not going to hold you to the terms of the lease because I feel bad. The problem, of course, with that is that if the tenant knows that you're just arbitrarily deciding on how you're going to enforce that contract based on how you feel in the moment, frankly, it creates a lot more contention and conflict with the tenant versus them knowing that you're just going to honor the contract that the two of you have set out, and that you're just going to follow that contract as closely as you possibly can. Number 8, they will approve or decline people based on how they feel about them instead of just sticking with the numbers, such as credit score or income. This can be a huge fair housing problem, but beyond that, the reality is some people can interview well, and you should just be focusing on the data, because you will be burned. Again, I've learned that the hard way. Just stick with the numbers, even if it feels rigid to you, and don't approve people or decline people based on your impression or your feelings. Number 9, they will handle communications with their tenant over the phone or face-to-face instead of keeping the conversation in writing. This is kind of more of an old school mindset, but you see a lot of this. I want to talk on the phone with them. I want to meet with them face-to-face and look them in the eye. While I fundamentally don't disagree that there are times that may be appropriate, at a minimum, follow up with that from that phone call or that meeting with a write-up of what was decided upon and what was discussed. You want to have a really good email chain or whatever it is, communication chain with your tenant about everything that is decided and discussed during their tenancy. If you don't do that, it'll come back to bite you and it'll be painful. So make sure that you are tracking that carefully and keep it in writing. Number 10, before taking action on a breach of lease by the tenant, they will seek the advice of their peers instead of an attorney. I can't tell you how many times I've seen public forums where landlords are asking for legal advice from people that are not attorneys, and then they're running with that advice as if it was from an attorney. Even though I love the Colorado Springs Landlord Forum, and it's a great resource to kind of bounce initial ideas off of and to get some expert kind of property manager, realtor advice on various topics in real estate, you ultimately want to get attorney's advice before you pull actual triggers if there's some kind of a legal issue or contract issue that you're working to address. So yeah, that's really the 10 points I wanted to go over today. Each of these points have little nuances and what ifs and possible exceptions, but by and large, I would stick with that. And those are hopefully helpful tips for you on things, or top 10 things not to do if you are a landlord, and certainly if you're a new landlord getting into the business. So hopefully this was helpful. We'll see you next week.